name's Isabella.
Hi, my name is Chaudhary.
Hi, my name is Yasmin.
Hi, my name's Nina.
Hi, and I'm Riza.
Today we're going to engage you all in a yarning circle where we share with you our findings from visiting the Koori Heritage Trust in Federation Square on Wurundjeri land. We will also share some learning experiences that we have created based on our visit to the Koori Heritage Trust, as well as our own personal reflections from our visit. We're going to start off our yarning circle with an acknowledgement to country. This acknowledgement is one that we do with our children at our centres every day, and it has some action, so follow along with me. Here is the land, touch the land.
Here is the land,
and
here is the sky.
Here is the sky.
Here are my friends.
Here are my friends.
And here am I.
And here am I.
We acknowledge the Wurundjeri people, past, present, and future, for this land on which we play and learn.
The importance of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities play a central role in shaping Australian culture. These communities consist of approximately 500 distinct nations, each defined by unique languages, cultures, and lifestyles. This diversity enriches the often homogeneous societal narratives and offers a broad spectrum of cultural expressions. These communities use art not just for aesthetic value, but also to pass down cultural stories, spiritual beliefs, and knowledge from ancestors across generations. These artistic expressions contribute to cultural preservation and education, helping to understand and appreciate the cultural heritage of these communities. Traditional practices, such as marking tools to show ownership of carving trees or ceremonial purposes, showcase the living and evolving aspects of these communities' cultural. These deep connections to land and heritage strengthen the integrated and active roles of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities in the cultural landscape of Australia. They advocate for a more inclusive and accurate representation in national narratives and highlight the historical and contemporary contributions of these communities. In summary, the cultural diversity and artistic expressions of these communities are vital elements that enrich Australia's social and cultural fabric. This diversity and richness open the door to a broader understanding of our national identity and help build deeper understanding and respect among all Australians.
Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to share with you the amazing cultural heritage of the Koori people from Southern Australia. Their history is truly remarkable and adds so much to our understanding of Australian culture. The Koori people have a vibrant tradition of art and crafts that are not just beautiful, but also deeply meaningful. Their artwork tells stories about their traditions and way of life, giving us a glimpse into their world. One great way to learn more about the Koori people is by visiting special heritage sites. These places are filled with their unique art and history and are wonderful for people for all ages, especially kids, to explore and learn about the Koori way of life. The Koori Heritage Trust is a fantastic source of resources. It's a hub for Koori culture, history, and traditions, offering a place for learning, community events, and coming together to find solutions. The Koori people have a wealth of traditional knowledge. For example, they used fire to manage the land and help plants grow, showing their deep connection to nature. Their art and stories keep their history alive, and their social structure with wise, clean leaders reflects a rich cultural heritage. Today, the Koori people continue to make important contributions. Their art, music, and customs enrich Australian culture. The Koori people continue to make important contributions. Their art, music, and customs enrich Australian culture. Their traditional environmental practice offers valuable lessons for managing land and tracking climate changes. They also play a vital role in helping Others understand indigenous rights and history through education. Kuri heritage also capitalizes on countries of knowledge and tradition to get attached to the traditional land. There is a strong and inspiration effort to revive Kuri language and traditions, ensuring their heritage remains a vibrant part of our shared future. Let's take a moment to celebrate and support the Kuri people's incredible legacy and their ongoing contributions to our world through early childhood education.
Now we're going to share some personal reflections from visiting the Kuri Heritage Trust. Does anybody want to share their reflection first? Okay, go Yaz.
As an educator, I think we should include the valuable resources from Kuri heritage to teach children about indigenous culture in their local area.
For sure. I felt that after speaking with Sam at the centre, I felt great admiration for him for wanting to share so much knowledge with us. And I could tell that he felt that it was his duty, but he also really wanted to, and it was his pleasure to share that with us. So from that, I feel much more connected to you guys and to our culture in our local area. And I also feel like now it's my duty to share that, like you just said, Yasmin.
So for me, I learned that every area uses different techniques and elements in their artwork. For example, both modern and traditional elements are created by Wurundjeri peoples tend to include geometric shapes and patterns, whereas the dot paintings that we all know and recognize are generally created in areas up north. So that was an interesting fact that I didn't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to touch on that again later, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I'll go. Visiting the Kuri Heritage Trust made me feel more connected to Indigenous culture in our local area. Growing up in Melbourne, I always saw the Birrung, or the Yarra River, as an important part of the city's identity, culture, and social amenity. My visit to the Kuri Heritage Trust helped me reframe my own connection to the river and the city at large as a Melburnian.
For sure. I completely agree, Nina.
Yeah. After visiting the Kuri heritage, I feel like we should help today's generation stay connected with the first people's cultural heritage and traditions.
Definitely.
So country is an inextricable part of Aboriginal culture, which means it's integral and cannot be separated, much in the same way that people are inextricable from country and vice versa. People are part of country and country is part of people. This quote from Bawanka Country et al., I think captures this nicely. Humans care for country as part of country, not as a separate from it. In caring for country, humans care for themselves. In caring for humans, country cares for itself. It's a bit tricky at first, coming from a Western background, and I'm still getting my head around it. But country cannot be thought of in the same way in which we normally think of the environment. Country isn't just a backdrop of something to admire in photos or poems. It's not just a place to study. Instead, it's like forming a relationship with a friend. When we learn about country, we're connecting with it personally and emotionally, understanding it deeply and figuring out our bond with it. So when teaching about country, well, we wouldn't actually be teaching about it, we'd be teaching with it, which is why Bawanka Country, which is in Arnhem Land, is one of the credited authors in the article that I got the quote from. This article was written with country. So findings one connection with country helps us understand our place as people within it. Hint, it's not at the center, which is where we normally find ourselves in Western thinking, where we value things like individuality and personal freedom. But by understanding our place within country, we can better ground an approach to talk and learn about Aboriginal culture. And this is what the space in the Kuri Heritage Trust are doing. The building that the trust is in was not specifically built for the trust when it was designed as part of Federation Square, but the interior fit out was designed specifically for the trust. And what the architects did was put country at the center to elicit an understanding and connection to country, which is how Jeffer Greenaway, an Aboriginal architect who was involved on the project, puts it. I understand this as trying to recontextualize and decolonize Western notions of the landscape. They did this by adopting colors, textures, and geometries that recall country. For example, red tones like the river red gum trees, patterns on the structural columns like scar trees, or an undulating reflective ceiling like the river. However, for me, the most impactful intervention was opening up views to the river from the communal spaces, which allows visitors to reorient themselves to the Birrarung and thus to country.
Voices of Heritage, Unpacking Symbolism and Stories. The Koori Heritage Trust, founded to preserve and protect Indigenous art and culture, initially emerged in response to the controversial practice of digging up Aboriginal skeletons for display and study, which was notably pursued by institutions like the Melbourne Museum during its worldwide tours. In our interview with Sam at the Koori Center, he provided insights into how the trust has evolved into a vibrant cultural hub. Now, the Koori Heritage Trust is renowned for its dynamic exhibitions and cultural workshops that foster a collaborative space for both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people to explore and celebrate Indigenous culture. The Trust is particularly acclaimed for showcasing contemporary Indigenous art, which is often gifted by community members or acquired by the center. A highlight event is the annual Koori Art show held during Christmas, where community members showcase their art, and the center purchased some of these pieces supporting local artists. And Sam emphasized the importance of having secret spaces within the center where individuals can connect on a deeper level, reflecting the private nature of some cultural exchanges. The Koori Nation, as he detailed, comprises 5 different languages from around Melbourne and is recognized for its unique geometric patterns and motifs typical of Victorian Aboriginal design. Bunjil the eagle holds a special place in Kulin Nation lore, teaching values such as care for the country and for children, embodying the deeply relational and collectivist culture of the community. Education about Indigenous culture is a core mission of the Trust, and Sam highlighted the need for children and adults alike to understand that Indigenous culture is not only surviving but thriving. This is crucial, especially for members of migrants communities who might be under the impression that Indigenous culture is fading.
Transferring culture through active learning involves engaging learners in a meaningful experiences that promote the exploration, understanding, and application of cultural values, beliefs, and practices. Before educators can effectively transfer culture through active learning, it is essential to have a great understanding of the following frameworks and pedagogies. So first, we will look at the Victorian Aboriginal Education Association. So the VAEA Koori Early Years Best Practice and Protocols. This is a framework to support early childhood services in providing high-quality education and care for Koori children and families. By adopting the framework, educators can create a culturally supportive environment that enhances the learning, development, well-being of Koori children, and to foster reconciliation and cultural understanding. So understanding the principles and guidelines set by the VAEAI is crucial for educators to develop culturally responsive practices that supports Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children in their learning and their cultural identity. Next is the Aboriginal pedagogies, the 8 ways. So this framework provides a structured approach to teaching and learning that reflects Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives. Educators should understand and apply the 8 ways to create culturally responsive learning experiences. It consists of story sharing, community links, deconstruct, reconstruct, nonlinear, land links, symbols and images, nonverbal, and learning maps. And the next one is the Secretariat of National Aboriginal and Islander Childcare, later known as SNACC. So this is the national voice for our children. It is the national voice for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and families in Australia. For educators to become familiar with these principles and resources, it helps us create inclusive learning environments that value Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and perspectives. By supporting the SNAICC, you are contributing to a brighter future for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children, where they can thrive in their families and communities connected to their culture and identity. By knowing and applying these frameworks, principles, and pedagogy, educators can develop culturally safe and inclusive learning environments, build strong relationships with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and communities, create learning experiences that value and respect Aboriginal cultures and perspectives, support the cultural identity and learning of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children, and foster reconciliation and greater understanding between cultures. Only when educators have a deep understanding of these frameworks and pedagogies can they effectively transfer culture through active learning, promoting a more inclusive and culturally responsive education system.
Now I'm going to share with you some activities that we've created based on our visit at the Koori Centre. For the first activity, we took inspiration from the importance of connecting with the land and the country, as Nina mentioned before. For this experience, it would follow on straight after our acknowledgement to country, and I will ask the children the question, what is the land to them? While they're thinking, I'll use this book, A Day in the Land Down Under, to support their thinking with some images and ideas of what the land is. To support the children's thinking, I'm going to read this story, A Day in the Land Down Under. Across our land under the southern skies, the locals awake to see the sun rise. Honey eaters sweetly sing as eucalyptus trees sway and swing. Wombats burrow in earth's warm hug, while emus strut with a proud little shrug. Up in the mountains so high and grand, little rock wallabies make their stand. Kangaroos bounce under the sun so bright, hopping around with pure delight. On the northern coast with waters so blue, the busy coral reef have so much to do. Turtles swim and fishes play in waves that dance in the light of the day. So now, does anybody want to answer that question? What is the land? And what is the land for you? You can have a little think and then put your hand up if you'd like to share. Yasmin?
Maybe culture?
For sure. Culture is definitely a part of the land, and everyone's culture can be different depending on what land you live on. Hey. Nina?
Yeah, to me, the land in Melbourne is where my Japanese heritage and personal experience kind of intertwine, creating a unique sense of belonging and identity.
For sure. Yeah, Riza.
So for me, the land is about our stories, our experiences, and how we share it to everyone.
Chowdhury?
I feel like the land to me is where we live and where we feel we belong to.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like for me, it's definitely where I live and where I feel most close to nature. I like to go down to the coast, to the beach on the peninsula a lot, and I feel like that is the land, true land for me. Great. So after I'd ask the children that questions and we all share sort of in a yarning circle, I'd get the children up in a group and we can then go outside and further explore this question of what is the land. The children can have a little walk around and explore the land. They might pick up things and say, you know, teacher, is the rocks the land? And you can sort of confirm with them, yeah, the rocks, the trees, the ground, all of that. And sometimes children might say, are the trams the land? And then you sort of, you know, it's good they're getting thinking about what is the land in their area. So that would be the transition out of the experience.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
For our second experience, we wanted to create something around the importance of the individuality of the art in our local area. And after chatting with Sam, he explained to us that local Wurundjeri art is made up of geometric shapes and patterns. As Riza said before, not, you know, all Indigenous art is just the dot paintings that we like to think of. So we really wanted to hone in on what our local art is made up of. And we created an experience where the children can connect with the elements that make up this Indigenous art in their area. The experience includes a space where the children view images of local artists' work. We took some photos that were at the Koori Centre and placed them on the table for the children to have a look at. And then the children can further explore these geometric shapes by tracing the patterns with stones on the cardboard. So instead of the children just sort of recreating their own idea of it, we wanted them to, you know, really focus on the shapes that make up this art.
Now I would like to share about the theoretical perspectives on childhood development. I would like to share about something truly important, how we can make early childhood education more inclusive and respectful of all cultures. Bronfenner's ecological systems theory helps us to understand that a child's development is shaped by various interconnected environments, from their immediate family to broader cultural influences. In Australia, it's crucial that from a young age, all children learn about our nation's history and the vibrant cultures of the First Nations people that are very much alive today. This is not just about teaching facts. It's about helping children understand and respect cultural diversity and giving Aboriginal children a strong sense of belonging and self-worth. By weaving cultural learning into early childhood education, we can celebrate and share the rich tradition and knowledge of Indigenous cultures. This approach not only helps all children appreciate different cultures, but also creates a supportive environment where every child feels valued. I would like to add about why it's so important to teach our young children about Australia's history and the rich cultures of First Nations people. Understanding this helps us build a society that values diversity and inclusion. To explain how we can do this, let's look at Bronfenner's bioecological model. This model shows how different environments affect children's growth and their understanding of cultural diversity. First, the microsystem. This is where children interact directly with their families and teachers. These early interactions are crucially helpful as they introduce children to Aboriginal cultures, shaping their first understanding of diversity. The mesosystem, this links different environments like home and school. These connections help reinforce with children learn about different cultures, making their education more meaningful. Then the ecosystem. This layer includes broader social systems like school policies on cultural education. Even though children might not directly engage with these policies, they ensure schools teach about Aboriginal cultures and all the different cultures. The macrosystem, this involves the wider cultural values and norms of our society. These societal values shapes how children learn, helping them appreciate and celebrate the diverse cultural cultures in our society and in our country. Finally, the chronosystem, this considers changes over time, like how cultural education evolves, ongoing exposure to diverse cultures throughout a child's life helps shape their respect and understanding for these cultures.
And now let's look at the EYLF principles, respect for diversity. The EALF emphasized that children's educational experiences should promote respect for diversity. This includes recognizing and valuing the rich cultural histories of Australia's Indigenous peoples. Integrating First Nations cultures into the curriculum helps children understand and value cultural differences from an early age. Belonging, being, and becoming. Teaching about First Nations people helps children develop a strong sense of identity and belonging, understanding the historical context of their community and the contributions of Indigenous people supports children's feeling of being part of their country's ongoing story. VEALDF objectives, cultural competence. The VEALDF encourages the development of cultural competence in children, urging educators to include diverse cultural perspectives in their teaching. This helps children learn to interact respectfully and appreciate different cultures. Community engagement. The framework emphasized the importance of community engagement, including local Indigenous communities in education provides children with authentic and meaningful learning experiences that are true to the lived experience of First Nations people. Implementing educational frameworks, curriculum development. Educators should include elements of First Nations histories, languages, and symbols in the daily curriculum through various mediums such as stories, music, and art. This makes these elements an integral part of learning. Engagement with Indigenous elders and leaders. Building relationships with Indigenous communities and inviting elders and leaders to share their knowledge and stories ensures that the educational content is respectful and accurate. This also provides children with first-hand experiences of Indigenous cultures. When we start teaching our children about Australia's First Nations cultures, we are planting the seeds for a society that truly values diversity. It's not just about history, it's about living cultures and continuous stories.
Exactly, Yasmin. And that's where frameworks like VAEAI and SNAICC, along with the 8 ways of pedagogy, becomes crucial. They aren't just guidelines, they're tools that help us weave these important cultural strengths into the fabric of our educational practices, supporting the well-being and identity of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children.
Building on what Riza just mentioned, the Early Years Learning Framework and the Victorian Framework play a significant role too. They urge us to integrate cultural competence and encourage us to engage with communities. This isn't just beneficial. It's essential for fostering a sense of belonging and understanding among all children.
Yeah, I agree too. As you can see in Brown Pinner's bioecological model, helps us understand how different environments affect children's understanding of cultural diversity, interactions with families and teachers, connections between home and schools, broader societal systems, societal values, and changes over time all influence children's development. By adding First Nation people's cultural learning into early childhood education, we can celebrate and share the rich tradition and knowledge of Indigenous cultures. This approach not only help all children appreciate different cultures, but also create a supportive environment and where every child feels valued and safe.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to include authentic Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander symbols, languages, and stories in our curriculum. Engaging with elders and incorporating their wisdom not only enriches our program, but it helps us build genuine respect and preservation of these cultures. It's about creating meaningful connections and learning experiences.
For sure. So now reflecting on our discussion, I think it's clear that integrating these diverse cultural perspectives into early childhood education not only enriches our curriculum, but profoundly shapes a more inclusive and respectful future society. That concludes our yarning circle for today. Hope you all enjoyed and learnt something. Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
See ya.